Hi, I'm Maria from the Watershed Center, and this video is covering Station 1 of Day 2 of the Stream Investigation Lesson Plan Series. So you're outdoors for this day. This is your day you go out to actually collect data from the creek, and there are 3 rotating stations, and this is station number 1, Think Like a Scientist. This station is almost entirely discussion-based, so all you need is a place for students to sit, a place for students to write, and then this worksheet that we will go over in a second, the water quality change hypothesis worksheet. So this station is all about students forming a hypothesis for this broader scientific experiment that they're conducting through their data collection and analysis. So gather your students in an area of your outdoor setting, and then you can have them sit down for this. It's, again, mostly discussion-based. You'll want to hand out worksheets and make sure that each student has a copy and that each student has something to write with and something to write on. So that could be a notebook or a clipboard or even the ground. Before you fill out the worksheet or start any discussion for this station, depending on the background knowledge that your students are coming in with, you might want to take time to front load some information. So what is a hypothesis? What is a scientific experiment? You can talk about how scientists use experiments to test their hypotheses, and that the whole of what we're doing here, we're collecting data, we're looking at change in conditions between an upstream location on the river and a downstream location. This is a scientific experiment, and today we're going to create our hypotheses. What do we think is going to happen as a result of our data collection? When we look at that data, are we going to see changes between the two locations? Why are we seeing those changes? What might change? So kind of front loading some of those questions and some of those definitions for students if they've never encountered the word hypothesis, for example. So in terms of filling out the worksheet itself, which is the basis of this whole station, before you fill out section 1, a couple of things you might want to talk about is how might water quality change between 2 river testing locations. And this is information that they will have gotten in their first lesson, the lesson they had in the classroom, but it's always good to review. And we can talk about things like fires and floods and droughts and pollution and climate change and all kinds of things that might cause differences in water quality from place to place or over time. And then you'll want to review the water quality indicators that students are collecting data on today. So that's pH, turbidity, dissolved oxygen, and nitrate. And if you have time to just briefly review what those are and what they tell us about water quality, that'll help students fill out this first section. So once you've done that bit of review, you'll have students fill out the first section of the worksheet. And this one they can do individually because this is the point at which they will form their own individual hypothesis, make their own guess about what's going to happen. So you'll have them fill out just this box in the middle of the page, and they can use the bottom box as reference, even though hopefully you've just gone over that bottom box sort of as a group. So give students some time to fill out that top box, and you can let them know that they will get results that will either prove their hypothesis correct or incorrect. And there's no right or wrong when you're testing a hypothesis with an experiment. It's just sort of the form that we use to find information. So when students are finished with section 1, you can, depending on their comfort level and familiarity with graphs and graphing, you could either have them move on to section 2 and individually fill that out themselves, or you could bring everyone back together and do sort of a review of how to fill out this graph. If I think that water quality is going to decrease from upstream to downstream, what would my line look like, and so on and so forth, and have folks work together to fill out those graphs, again, sort of just depending on their knowledge and comfort level. Once they've done the graphing exercise, all that's left is to fill out section 3. And here we find it useful to group students by which indicator they chose to use in their hypothesis. So put all of the turbidity students together, put all of the pH students together. This way they can work together to generate ideas about why that indicator might be changing from place to place. And this is kind of the meat of the section. This is what will take us into future days, into our data analysis day and our data sharing day, sort of thinking about the causes of some of those water quality changes. So section 3 is good to be done in groups, but that's it for the station. So once students have filled out their worksheets, that usually takes about 20 minutes with all of the discussion, and you can make the choice as an instructor whether to collect all of those worksheets at the end or have students carry them with them. They will need these sheets in future lesson days. So when they do data analysis in the classroom, and then again when they do their data sharing on day 4, if you choose to do that. So knowing that these worksheets will be used again, you can make the decision whether or not to collect them from your students. Okay, have fun.